Welcome to My Voices Have Tourettes, and that's why we're having a Tourette talk. My name is Dan Zarin. Let's get started here. So today's episode is brought to you by... Wow, first time I can't even get to them. My Tourette's doesn't even want the sponsors to get promoted. This episode is brought to you by Gamesless Studio, where we are recording, The Secret Cellar, Iceland's first and only comedy club, and Smouty's Volcano Sauces, the greatest hot sauces I've ever had in my entire life. Highly recommend them. But enough of that. Let's get to our episode. So today I am joined by two absolutely incredible people. One of them is my co-host, Stepned Benedictson.
Hey, yeah, how you doing?
I am good. How are you?
I'm okay.
I like how I bring you on by like getting like so it's like I'm so excited. It's just like Stepned Benedictson. Like it's like a statement in itself.
I know.
I mean, and it has to be because you are the only Stepned Benedicson.
That's very true. I'm the only guy. The
only one. But one day maybe there will be another one, and you will just destroy them.
Right. Fight to the death. That's how it goes.
There can only be one. I almost said there can only be Juan, and I was just like, well, no, that's a different name. That's not how this works. But what do you say we get to the guest?
Yeah, how about that?
All right, because I can go on for days. So anyway, let's get to the guest. The guest is an absolutely wonderful person that I just recently got the privilege of getting to know a little bit through social media. She is a YouTuber. She has videos that she does with others called Tourette Talk. She also does a lot of really, really wonderful videos where she talks all about Tourette syndrome and has really, really great ways of wording them. But let's just bring her on. The obsessed dog mom herself, Britney Wolf.
Hi, that's a very accurate description of me.
Here at My Voices Have Tourettes, we do our best. How are you?
I am doing good. It's funny you described me as that because I was just talking about my future of hopefully having a complete dog washing station in my basement. So,
that'd be amazing.
Yeah, it's like with a dryer and everything. So yeah,
and you
over the
have,
top.
You have two dogs. You have Izzy and Brooklyn.
Yes,
and
they are the best.
And I understand, if I read correctly, one of them is 13.
She just turned 14.
14.
We might have bought her a cake and got balloons and everything for it.
Okay, that is actually a conversation because I started noticing these popping up every once in a while. People having birthday parties for their pets, and I am not opposed. I think that is freaking cool. Like I saw some of these elaborate birthday cakes for dogs, and I'm like, you know what? I don't even have a dog, but I would go to that party.
Yeah, I'd sure go.
Yeah,
did you?
We had my parents over because she was like a family dog before I moved out and took her with me because she was mine. I handpicked her. Like I've had this dog since she came into life. We had her mom and she had puppies. So, so her and I are very close. That's why she is right behind me right now because she's my shadow. But yeah, so I had my parents come over. We had some pizza. Got some balloons for her, cake, gave her. My mother-in-law came over and brought her tennis balls, and because she's just as obsessed. Mm-hmm. No, nobody's as obsessed as I am. But she's pretty close. She has pictures of them on her refrigerator. She calls them her grand dogs. It's the best. She comes because she'll come here. Yeah, she'll come here and stay and watch them for us when we go on vacation. When we used to be able to go on vacations.
Hey, we'll get there again. We'll get there.
I'm curious though.
I go next month.
I'm curious though. What kind of cake do you get a dog?
A delicious one.
Yeah. It was made with it was all natural. It was a bakery that was actually an hour from our house. My husband drove after work to go and pick up the cake.
A dog bakery then.
Yes, it was a dog bakery made with all dog safe ingredients. It was mostly peanut butter flavored because what dog doesn't like that?
A bakery.
They were fans, yes. They seemed to like it. I thought it smelled kind of funny, but they were huge fans of it.
Right.
I actually would be upset if they didn't call themselves a woofery.
Right. Oh yeah.
I think
it's a good one.
But I assume there's no chocolate in the cake.
No, there was I can't remember the name of it because it looked like it was chocolate. It was a dark brown color, but no, definitely no chocolate. But it was the Grateful Dog Bakery in Cleveland, Ohio. So they did a wonderful job.
I like how you picked that perfect moment to go, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and plug them. I'm going to go ahead and give them a little shout out here.
They were very nice people, and they made a little miniature Izzy on top of the cake that I saved. So they deserve it.
That's so cute.
That's awesome. I have to, so wait, so you have two dogs. So one of them did one of them get the birthday cake and the other one just had to sit there and watch as they ate the cake?
No. We would never be able to do that. They both got their own piece. They shared. So anytime the other has the birthday, they both get the treat. So
Two cakes a year, huh?
Yeah. Well, we might not get the other one a cake because we really wanted to make it a big one for my older one, just because 14 is quite the age for a lab.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, but the other one will get a special toy because my older dog doesn't play with toys. She plays with the ball and that is it. She has never once played with a dog toy and she just doesn't like them. It's the weirdest thing.
Not once, just never.
No, she picked up my other dog, Brooklyn's toy, like one time. But then, like, once she realizes she has it, she's just like, oh, why am I doing this? But she'll only play with the ball. So when we just had her, we had one soccer ball. Like, it was like a mini soccer ball. That's all she had. That's all she ever wanted. She picked it up. She laid with it. Like, that was her toy. Now we have this other dog, Brooklyn, who is amazing, but so many toys. That dog will play with everything.
This is like when you get caught listening to Rebecca Black's Friday and you're just like rocking out to it until you realize you're listening to Rebecca Black's Friday and you're just like, oh, what am I doing? But I love people get like really like I'm not emotional. I mean, they get emotional about pets, but they get really aggressive if you do anything that they don't like. So my girlfriend has a cat named Omen, and she's like the greatest cat on the planet, but she has like a lot of anxiety. So I get woken up to her at like 6 or earlier in the morning, and she's just like, hitting a paper bag, just like. And so I started jokingly calling her alarm clock. And I posted that on Facebook that I was thinking of changing her name to Alarm Clock. And my girlfriend's mother commented and she goes, over my dead body, you will.
Getting defensive.
Got super defensive. And I'm like, I mean, I get your point. But every day she wakes me up. No, like doesn't even care. Doesn't care what time it is. She just goes, Dan, it's time to get up. We're getting up. You're playing with me right now. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, they don't care about what time it is ever.
No. But all right. So getting into what you do, though, because you do a lot of awesome stuff. I want to start apparently with a few squeaks. I want to start with the YouTube stuff. Because I understand. How long have you been posting videos to YouTube now?
I just saw that it was 5 years. Like last week sometime was my first video of it was like the 5-year mark. Or whatever. So yeah, it's been 5 years. It's more consistent the last couple of years. So when I was first getting started, it wasn't quite as consistent. I went through some medical stuff too, that outside of Tourette syndrome, I found out I had Lyme disease, which is a whole other story. So there were days where it's just hard to stick to it.
Right.
But I'm doing better now and being a little more consistent, which is always good.
But at least you don't have lemon disease. Please. You know those moments where you like have a joke in your head and your brain is just going, dude, don't.
That one goes in the black book.
Don't do it. And then your mouth says it and your brain is just like, you had one job. Don't do it.
Listen, we have Tourette syndrome. We can't control what goes on up there and out the mouth. So
I know, but at the same time, that was just unacceptable. I mean, let's get real.
I was trying to give you a pass. I was trying to give you the benefit of the doubt on that one.
Yeah, but how did
you get started?
There you go.
What inspired you to do a YouTube video in the first place?
So I've always been passionate about telling people about Tourette syndrome. I've always been an open book. I would tell anybody that asked me questions about it. And I always kind of like to, even when I was in high school, I would always say, I want to get to them before they get to me. I want them to know I have Tourette syndrome ahead of it. So that way, at that point in my mind, I'm like, you're the jerk if you keep making fun of me and I don't care.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
I've got the same thing with my weird. I don't hide my weird. I'm just weird straight away. And then if people don't get it, they're not my kind of people.
Right, exactly. So if people didn't accept me, then whatever, that was their problem, not mine. I had my friends. I had what I needed. That was fine. I feel like it just puts it out on the table. So whenever I have that moment to tell people, I like to just be like, well, I have Tourette syndrome. You might see me do some stuff with my body that is a little funky from time to time. It is what it is.
Right.
So I wanted another way to start. I thought about the idea of posting a YouTube video for probably 2 years before I finally did it, because I was so scared because, everybody's can make fun of, like, they're behind the keyboard. They're so confident and they can say whatever. Those trolls, those bullies, like, they're stronger than ever on the internet. And I'm like, I'm putting this out there on the internet, trying to get people to stop making fun of Tourette syndrome, but I feel like they're going to make fun of me and Tourette syndrome. But
on that note, have you gotten some negative feedback?
I haven't gotten as much as I thought I would. I have more negative feedback on TikTok of all places. I just finally gave in. I didn't want one. And then my sister-in-law was like, Britney, this is a good spot for awareness. Like it's just for that. Like, don't think of it. Because I didn't want to give in just to the trend of it. But she really got me to do it. I'm like, all right, if it's another thing for awareness, then I'm all for it. I will take any place to spread awareness. And I swear I posted one video of one of my worst ticks that people don't see in my videos, and like left and right, she's faking it. This isn't real. She's faking. I'm like, I've been on TikTok for 24 hours and I've gotten more rude comments than I have in 5 years on YouTube. I'm done with this. Like, I was gonna stop, and she was like, no, don't stop. Like, we talked about it for a minute, and so eventually just changed the setting so I wouldn't see those comments. Other people might, but they won't show up for me. I'm like, all right, well, if people are making them, I just won't read them, and that's fine. Whatever. I know I'm not faking, so that's really all that matters.
Yeah,
it's interesting you bring that up, because I was actually I had that ready as one of the topics I wanted to discuss, because I've been posting these 31 days of ticks videos, and I noticed a comment today actually that someone I just realized by the time we upload this episode, this will have dated the episode. But no, I noticed I noticed a comment. Like, I was talking about the tick where, like, when my girlfriend is next to me, like, I touch her arm and over and over again. And someone commented, and luckily I haven't gotten anyone, thinking I'm faking it or anything yet. But someone did, like. And I think it's just like, also you can't really tell how someone's saying something.
Yeah.
And they said so something like, so basically you could just touch the table and it'd be the same thing. And then they put like that emoji of like, like, which comes across as like, well, can't you just decide what you touch then?
Right.
And I was sitting here like, how do you even respond to that? Like, I mean, in my head, I'm going, okay, perfect opportunity to educate someone.
Right.
Yeah, actually, yes. Sometimes I do touch the table, but to be fair, I don't really get to decide what I touch.
Right.
But also, I did want to talk about this because, as everyone with Tourette syndrome is noticing now, there are so many Tourette videos popping up left and right. And it is true. There are actually a lot of people faking it for the views. And what I'm noticing is there are a lot of Touretters being called fakers because there are so many people that just are like blatantly faking it. Then when they see someone actually ticking, they're like, oh, well, this can't be a real thing.
Right. It doesn't look like this person, so it's not real. Or you don't swear, so it's not real. That's what I get all the time. That was my first negative comment on YouTube, was that my case wasn't real because I'm not swearing. And if you want to see a real case, go to such and such. I don't remember. And so I won't argue with somebody back and forth. I told myself that when I made my YouTube video. I'm like, you are not going to argue back and forth with somebody. Like, I draw the line there. I'm not going to argue with a stranger on the internet. It's just not worth my time.
No.
And so I will always comment, and I always put like, thanks for watching with like a little smiley face, just to like kill them with kindness a little bit, just because.
I think that's the way to go.
Yeah. But then I'll say, I'm like, if you watch more of my videos, you'll see that I comment multiple times that I have a mild case that can get worse. What you see in the videos is not everything, because I'm concentrated. I was like, and two, I was like, you also know that not everybody swears that has Tourette's, and they comment back and say, oh, well, you'd be more interesting if you swore more. I'm like, I'm done with this now. All right, whatever.
that's like them going. You could market yourself better if you just faked a few of them.
Like, Like, I'm not going to do that. I don't even swear. Like, I always tell people, like, if you hear me swearing, it is not my tics. It's because I'm really mad, because I'm not a vulgar language kind of person. It doesn't offend me or bother me. My dad and my brother swear left and right. You think I would swear more growing up around it, but it's just not my style unless I'm very, very mad.
Right.
Then they slip.
Well, and to be fair, I'm in with this whole topic of like, I mean, people that don't have Tourette's syndrome having their opinion. It's kind of, and we've talked about this in the podcast before about the fact that it's not just the everyday person. It's neurologists, it's doctors. I mean, there is a lot of false information going out. In one of the first episodes, we talked about the fact that there are literally neurologists that to this day believe that women cannot have Tourette syndrome. And it's just like, guys, it's 2021.
Right.
I mean, this isn't the Middle Ages.
It's the same, but on opposite ends with autism. A lot of people don't think women get autism or get autism, have autism. Yeah. There was a movie here in Iceland, or like a documentary here in Iceland, made about this topic.
Wow.
So,
yeah. See, it's weird that they think that, because I also just did two Tourette Talk videos, and they both told me how they've been told that, well, you can't have Tourette syndrome because you're not white. And I'm like, what? What? Like, my skin color, somebody's skin color doesn't affect like a neurological issue. Like, what?
Yeah, this is just for the straight white males. If you are not straight and you're not white, you cannot have this. It's exclusive. That's just horrible.
Yeah,
but
it shows that representation that we need more of. Like that, when
Absolutely.
I hear comments like that, that's why we can't stop, and that's why it confirmed why I started doing those videos too. Because eventually, I'm like, only my side of and my story of Tourette syndrome is only going to get somebody so far, because not everybody might be able to connect with my tics and my Tourette's. But if I keep getting other people's stories in there and showing, like, because you hear it more often, like doctors will say, like, well, she doesn't swear, so she doesn't have Tourette syndrome.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like, no, we need to talk about that more, because we need to show that that's not correct. Because even when I tell people that I have Tourette syndrome, sometimes they'll have known me and been working with me or something months, and they'll be like, oh, so you swear all the time? And I'm like,
when have I ever?
Yes.
Like, hi, I'm Britney. Nice to meet you for the first time.
I've been working here for 6 months, but all right.
Yeah, and I wanted to also point out the fact that this is embarrassing. I had a point, and then in my head, I was like, I'm gonna make this point, and then it just went straight out the window. But it was a very good point too. All right, I might get back to it, but I did actually want to point out one thing, because you brought up autism. I've been noticing from doing these videos that, I mean, autism and Tourette syndrome, there are actually a decent number of similarities.
Sure,
like,
they overlap.
Like, for example, I mean, there's the whole tics versus stimming, but there's also, I never really thought about this, but echolalia and palilalia, which are typically, thought of as Tourette syndrome, it's actually in autism as well. Like, right. I found out there's a decent number of autistic children, for example, that like someone will say something and then they'll repeat it back to them. Yeah.
And also that, isn't it echolalia where you say something and then you have to say it again?
That's palilalia.
That's palilalia. Oh, yeah. We also might have that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very confusing. It's like, you watch it. I literally posted a video about palilalia, and I'm like, I know this is what I have, but then I had that thought of like, I don't want to be called out by a Tourettic person for not talking about the right thing. So I was watching like all these videos, and I found all these like scientific videos, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're saying. I remembered what I was going to say before. All right. So I literally have to cut myself off because I remembered and it actually relates to this because, all right. So basically because the thing is, these videos get so scientific and they get so serious that you don't know what they're talking about. And I like that you made a comment earlier about like in a sense, taking the power for yourself. Yeah. I like that, like basically being on top of the joke before the joke is said to you. Yeah. And that's what I love about that is that's what we try to do with our show and our stand up and all of that stuff, is we try to basically, like, we don't want to, no, like, I feel like, and I hate saying this because I feel like it's not meant to be an attack, but I feel like a lot of Touretters today are still promoting fear. And they're still promoting like, oh, as soon as someone makes a joke, let's be offended and let's be enraged about it and try to get things canceled and try to get them to change everything. And it's like, okay, so basically you're teaching us to cower. You're teaching us to go, okay, I'm going to let them say that and just let them bully me. And I'm just going to be mad at them for saying that. Whereas instead of doing that, why don't we actually rise above that and say, really? I mean, you could have been a little bit more clever than that. I mean,
I've got better jokes.
Right. I got better jokes, or at least or instead go, you know what? I understand you're never going to change. This is just, I'm never going to be able to change your mind, but this is going to inspire me to change more opinions and get more people knowing about what's going on. And that's what I love about what you doing. Like, I watched a video the other day, you were talking about tick suppression. And I'm just like, that is the perfect way to talk about it.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I always try to get ahead. That's always been, if I ever have the opportunity, like in job interviews, everything, like I'll try to work it in that job interview, even though then on my way home, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Now they're not going to, what if they don't hire me because they have Tourette syndrome? I'll never know because they can't legally tell me they didn't hire me, because like I go through this conversation in my head the whole way home, even though I'll never know.
But here's the deal, though. If they don't hire you because you have Tourette syndrome, would you want to work for them?
Exactly. And that's part of the conversation I have with myself, because I'll go back and forth in fear. And then I'm like, whatever, I don't need them. If they don't want to hire me, whatever.
But you are doing these videos and you have moved on to different platforms other than YouTube. So basically I wanted to ask though, when you move between different platforms, do you change the way that you present information? Because obviously, like with TikTok and Instagram, like having those chat boxes, or like the colorful captions in general are really, really huge. Do you change it also based on the fact that it's typically only 1 minute videos as opposed to however long you want?
Yeah, I would say that going to TikTok almost made me start posting a little bit more, just because I'm like, all right, this is like a quick 1 minute and done. Here we go type of thing, super easy ones. And then my YouTube videos are the longer explanations, or talking more about my experience with whatever that topic is. So I definitely will try to get like more into 1 minute, but at the same time, not. I don't know. Like, it's hard. I guess it's hard to explain, but I'm more in depth in my YouTube videos, and it's more of like a quick, this is this topic for the TikTok, because I can only talk. Well, it'll straight up cut me off after a minute. So
yeah.
Do you cross promote where you might, there's more on my YouTube channel, blah, 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 blah.
Yep. I tried. And that's what I recently started using some of my TikTok for. I'll try and take clips from the longer YouTube videos, especially the Tourette Talk one, because those are the ones I want people to watch the most. I want them to hear other people's stories.
Right.
And I'll put a little clip on the end saying, to see the whole video, go over to my YouTube channel and find the link in my profile or whatever it is and go over there to watch it.
Right.
Just because even if anything, if they don't go to it, at least they saw some of it and heard some of it.
Yeah.
That's
right.
Exactly.
Right. Absolutely.
Exactly. And we noticed, so that you have a video on your YouTube where you talked about how music, like some music has helped you with your tics. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, because I've had the same thing. Stepner has used karaoke to help with autism. I'm wondering how exactly has music helped you with your tics?
Well, I think I really like when I do listen to music, finding that like connection in the song. Even sometimes I'm like, maybe I'm like thinking about the song too much to find a connection in it. But like, cause I'm that kind of person, like if I'm having like that rough day, then I want those like, it's going to sound like more depressing than it is, but like those sadder songs to listen to feel like, I don't want like that upbeat, and I'm like, no, I just want to feel these emotions right now. And I need,
your Adele.
Yeah.
Just crank the Adele, grab the tissues. We got this.
Yeah. No, it can feel so empowering. And so my dad has been a drummer in bands my whole life growing up. So I feel like I've always had that special connection to music, even though I'm not a musician myself. I sing in the car by myself or to my poor husband that has to hear me, but it's that's where it stops. I'm not a singer, but then I used to also dance. So I had the connection to music that way too, and expressing myself that way. And I think it kind of goes back to that, because there's just so many words that, like, sometimes, like, even as somebody that I consider myself to be a writer, like, other people just have those words sometimes that you can't think of. Yeah. And it's just nice to know, like, man, somebody kind of sort of gets it. They might be talking about something else, but this is so relatable to me.
Right.
And I just think that's so powerful. And then there's just some songs that just mean a lot. Like in that video, I talk about the song my dad wrote for me. Like, that song's for every emotion, happy, sad, needing inspiration, whatever it is. That's my favorite song in the world, and it always will be. So it brings you into that other space. And I think that's a really important thing to have when you have something like Tourette syndrome.
Right. And have you noticed that, like, wow, when you're singing or you're dancing, that your tics tend to be more calm?
Yes. Not as much when I'm singing, but sometimes when I dance, though, it was like I was never diagnosed with Tourette syndrome. I never ticked when I was in the dance studio. So much so, like, my people I danced with, my dance teachers, never even knew I had Tourette syndrome for a really long time. It was my safe place. When I had a bad day at school and I knew I had dance that day, like, I would just tell myself over and over, like, you just have to get to dance tonight. You just have to get there and everything will be better.
I love Elva's joke about like her friends asking her if she's going to dance, and she's like, I'm trying not to move. But it's a fascinating thing, because I mean, this has been something studied for ages about, like, how like when people with Tourette syndrome are singing or they're dancing, it's like their brain is so overpowered by the topic at hand that it's like the tics almost, like, for a lot of people, they just simply stop.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I've seen that when you play the guitar.
Yeah, well, actually, lately, it's been starting up while I play the guitar, but I think that's because, like, it's so weird. Like, I've noticed that, like, as I'm posting all this stuff to the internet, and I'm doing these tick videos, and I'm talking about all these ticks that I'm not necessarily doing in every video, because, you know, I mean, having Tourette syndrome is kind of like being a baby in the womb. We're not always ticking. And that was a really awful pun as well. But the thing is that, like, I've noticed, like, as I'm playing guitar or I'm doing anything now, I'm actually thinking of people looking at me going, well, does he really have Tourette syndrome? He's not ticking right now. And so lately, like, in things that I've never ticked doing, I've started ticking. So, like, when I'm playing guitar, my head starts going crazy. It's weird, but you're right. I used to never tick while I was playing guitar.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like, people think just because you're not ticking, that's another thing. We're like, we're not ticking right now, so you're faking. Like, no, watch like 5 advocate videos and you'll hear them say that I don't tick all seconds of the day. Some days I do, but it's not all the time.
Well, and I posted a video recently where I was talking about a tic that I've noticed. I've never met a single other Touretter that has this tic. Have you noticed any of your tics that you've never met anyone that has the same tic?
Well, I haven't met very many people, if any. Well, no, that's not true. I've met people in person. Most of the people that I know with Tourette syndrome are through social media now, because there's not a lot of people that I know of in my area anyways that have Tourette syndrome. I do see a lot of similar tics. I will say that I've never seen anybody. I hope I don't start doing it, but I have a tic where I slam my back against the back of my chair. So most of the time I don't sit like up against the back of my chair because of it, because it's a very bad trigger for me, especially if it's like a more stressful day. I slam it like hard, and then I do the same thing sometimes in bed. Like, I'll have to slam my back on the back of the bed because I'm laying down, and then I start to have to hit my elbows on the back of the chairs and on the bed. And I've seen similar tics, but I haven't actually seen those ones in particular, but they're definitely some of my least favorite ones.
Right. Yeah. And I was gonna ask also, because like, with the topic of tics, do you have any tics that look different than what's actually going on? because that's one of the things I've tried to stress with these videos. And by the way, I'm only pointing this out because she likes every single one of them. But and I love that she has posted them in stories. And that actually is not the reason I started posting your stuff in stories. You just have good videos. But
Thank you.
But no, I was gonna say, like, I've been trying to stress the fact that, like, a lot of these tics look different than they actually feel. And I'm wondering if you have any that you've noticed, like for example, like when people see you, like people flop their head, they're like, oh, it's clearly about the head, but it's actually about the neck.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. So I have tics where my shoulders will like kind of bounce a little bit, or I like stretch them. It looks like I'm stretching, but honestly, it's more so coming from my stomach. I'm ticking with my stomach, but it makes like my shoulders hunch over at the same time. I think it's like more of a tic too that has grown into more of a complex tic as I got older. Cause it used to just kind of be my stomach and my shoulders just a little bit. But as I've gotten older, yeah, it's like my stomach actually starting the tic, but then finding like the other body parts as it like moves its way up.
Right. Yeah. I think this is such a fascinating thing because I've noticed I've been learning so much about tics just in doing these videos that like I never thought of. I was posting one the other day and I'm like, I never even thought about the fact that I was doing that until 5 minutes ago when I decided to do this video.
Yeah. I realized, because I don't have a lot of vocal tics. I have some that not very many people hear. I have a clicking sound that I make with my stomach, or my tongue.
That would be a talent.
Yeah. But I also realized, like, so that same tic I was talking about, I have a vocal, like I grunt, and because when the tic's really bad, like I always thought it was just because I was moving that was happening. But then I realized, like, no, like I have to hear that sound. Otherwise my tic doesn't feel complete. Right. And so I'm starting to realize, like, I have more vocal tics than I've always like even thought in my head, which is weird to think about. Yeah.
And because we've talked about, we've mentioned the videos that you were doing about tic suppression. For anyone who hasn't listened to this podcast before, maybe doesn't know, tic suppression is basically where people will try to, for lack of a better way of putting it, they'll try to hide their tics by doing things like tensing muscles really tightly. When I was younger, I used to sit on my hand to get it to stop doing things.
I do that sometimes.
Yeah. I was just gonna ask what because I mean I have not met a single Tourettic person who has not suppressed at least once in their life. What is your experience with tic suppression, and do you tend to suppress a lot, or do you try not to?
So I try not to as much as I can, but there are the times that you almost do it like subconsciously because you're very aware that you're around people. Like when I'm in work meetings, not so much now. I tick a lot more now that I work from home, but that's because I know, like my head knows, like you're in a safe space to do whatever. Not that anybody has ever been, they've been very accepting. I love my job. I love the people I work with, but there's still that thought in your head, no matter how much you're accepted, that, okay, but I also don't want to be the girl that's just doing this all day. So I will sometimes in meetings, like I'll start, because I have a tapping tic. It's my biggest tic. I hit the mouse, I slam the mouse against the keyboard, I slam the mouse down, and I tap like on my desk, or I tap on my phone. Like I've done so many stinking things with this tapping tic. I've accidentally shared things from people that I have no business sharing. I've answered one question surveys on Facebook before. I've added friends on Facebook before because I'm just clicking it over and over and over again. I had to take the before like the facial recognition for iPhones, I had to take the password off my computer or my phone because I would kept ticking over and over again, and it locked me out of my phone. Yeah. And if I would have done it too many times, it would have assumed that it would have been like somebody's taking my phone and erased everything.
Yeah.
And so, because when it happened, my husband, he's like, well, hopefully it didn't erase everything. I'm like, what? What do you mean? Why would it erase everything? He's like, it's like a safety mechanism if somebody steals your stuff. And I'm like, but it's me. But so with that tapping one, I'll find myself starting to do it sometimes in meetings. And so I will start to like sit on my hands, or I'll just like excuse myself and just pretend like I have to go pee or something so I can just like get some of it out. But yeah, because those meetings, that's where I'm very aware, like not everybody in this room knows that I have Tourette syndrome. Only some of them do. So, and once you start thinking about that, it gets worse.
As soon as you start thinking about Tourette's, you start taking.
Yeah.
But do you ever feel like when you're suppressing tics, do you feel like you get charged and that you have to release and then you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's such a weird feeling because I don't always feel when a tic's gonna happen, but a lot of the times I do. I'll feel that like build up, like it's like just such a weird feeling in my body. I know I have to do something. When I'm trying not to tick, it's just like I feel it just like everywhere, even if it's not the body part I'm having a tick with. Like I feel it through my back and like through my legs and my stomach, and it's just this. I don't know, almost like a pressure throughout my body trying to like explode. And so if I don't do it later on, it'll be worse. So even if maybe it's not me consciously suppressing, like my mom used to tell me, like, so we had like state testing in school or whatever in middle school. She's like, whenever you had those tests that day, when you came home, your tics would just be like explosive. Like you'd be ticking so much because it didn't get out earlier. And it wasn't like I went to dance, so I got energy out a different way. It was literally all the energy was just like kept inside my body. And so now and I feel like the same thing happens before I go to bed. So I tick a lot before I go to bed. And I think it's because it's like my body's like, hey, you didn't do this, this, and this earlier today, and we wanted to do it. So guess what? Now's the time.
I just thought of the grossest analogy for this. And I feel like I have to say it now.
Yeah, whip it out.
Yeah, well now.
No, it's the other side. But no, it's I can't believe I'm going to say this. Tic suppression it's kind of like constipation. Like you can hold it in for a certain period of time, but by the time you oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm saying this. As soon as you finally poop, it's more than it would have been if you had just done it before.
Right.
It's kind of the same thing. I just thought of this, and again in my head I was going, don't say this. Don't say this. You post this on Facebook. No one's gonna care if you post it on. To be fair, no one's gonna care if I talk about it in here. This is kind of the place to talk about whatever we want. So
yeah. I've also explained it as I did a video, I don't remember when now. And it came to me like in the middle of a video, it was like a light bulb moment. I'm like, it's kind of like when you shake a pop. All of that pressure is building and building. And when you finally open it, it literally explodes out of the pop. Yeah. And that's kind of how it came to me. I'm like, yeah, and it's almost even the same feeling. It's almost as if like that fizz is building up in my body, ready to explode when I.
So you're talking about a soda pop.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry. I call it pop.
Yeah. I was going to say, where are you from? Are you from the Midwest?
I'm from Ohio. Yes.
I was going to say, so I actually I developed one of my echolalia tics that I developed was from living in Michigan for like 15 years. And, and I always called it soda because before Michigan, I lived in Indiana and everyone called it soda there. And I just grew up knowing, all right, it's soda. And then people started calling it pop. And as soon as I hear someone say pop, I go soda. So it just instantly triggered me. And we were talking about tic suppression. Like when I'm doing these interviews, oftentimes because the mics are so sensitive, like if I have like an echolalia tic or something like that, like you were saying that you can feel some of the tics happening. I can actually feel when like palalia and echolalia are about to happen sometimes. So I move away from the mic. So I just know that later on it's barely going to pick it up and I won't have to listen to, or people won't have to listen to me going soda. I put an N there. Why did I even put an N there? That doesn't even make sense. It's now soda.
That works too. I do the same thing with some of my physical tics because if we'll be in a grocery store and I have a foot kicking tic, I hit my foot on the ground. And if I know it's about to happen, I try to go to the side. Because if I'm in the middle of an aisle, I don't want to stop and I don't want to attract more attention if I can help it, or I'm just waiting for that person to be really mad because I stop in my tracks and they run into me or something.
Right.
So if I can feel it, I try to like put myself off like in the corner to let myself tick really fast and then move on.
Well, and this is one of my favorite topics actually about Tourette syndrome is the difference between conscious and subconscious tics. And I think that what people don't understand also is that like when we talk about tic suppression, because a lot of people that don't know anything about Tourette syndrome, they go, oh, well, if you can suppress it, you can stop it. And if you know when it's going to happen and you can suppress it from happening, then technically, do you really need to do it? And it's like, well, okay, you're missing the point, but but that is true. Like even
that brings me back to the poop analogy. You can hold it for a bit,
but it hurts. It hurts
right. And that's why I
so
always
bad.
Feel like it's almost like because when you said like you're afraid, like when you do the videos, like somebody's gonna be like, oh well, no, just because you can do it doesn't mean like I have the same thoughts where I almost feel like I want to put disclaimers in, and that's even in that suppression videos. I'm like, I want to make it very clear that not all of us can do this, and it doesn't mean we can control it because like it's just not possible. It's like a sneeze coming on or a cough or the hiccups.
Yeah.
I for one, I have very intense. My husband laughs at my hiccups all the time. He says that they're like the most intense hiccups he's ever seen. And they are loud and they like make my whole body move. But I can't stop it. I try because of that.
Yeah. Well, and I also, to be fair though, with like subconscious tics that happen without any warning at all, people, there are still ways that people do try to suppress them. But it's those ones actually can be very dangerous because the thing is like a lot of people have seen the videos from Jade O'Connell who does like those videos where she's like cooking and she keeps hitting the eggs and stuff like that. And the thing with her is like I imagine her trying to suppress like an arm throw, like where she's like tossing her arm and not knowing that when that's going to happen. And the only way I can think to suppress that would be to hold on to my arm basically at all times. Because you're not sure. But the problem is like I've had moments like my girlfriend and I were talking the other night about I have a tic that I'm going to do a video soon about called the bobblehead because my head will just start shaking and we were talking about like what can we do to maybe ease it because like when I'm in a car that triggers motion sickness really bad for me.
Okay.
And and I was saying to her the problem is I can't hold my head because as soon as I do that my neck starts getting intense pain because it's still moving. Like it's still, you're still going to do that motion and people have ended up with broken bones because they're trying to stop a tic. No, that's going to happen regardless.
Right. Yeah. And I've been so afraid of breaking something. I have this really dumb tic where, and I say dumb because it's my least favorite.
Let's get real. All tics are dumb.
Yeah. So, and it's one of the ones that I will have, and I don't take a lot when I'm driving besides like I tap my steering wheel. Cause again, my tapping tic is the most prominent tic. But so when I drive, not that I drive very often anymore. I think I drive like once a month cause I've been working from home for a year. So, so the car will be on like cruise control, so I don't have to be sitting on the pedal. When I come to stoplights or stop signs or anything, when the car's stopped, I have to like twist my foot and push on the side until I get this like very specific feeling, like my ankle's doing it right now.
Yeah.
On the side of it, and I have to do it like against the ground, and I push away from it, and I'm like, one of these days I'm going to push so hard, I'm going to snap my own ankle.
Yeah.
I'm going to be driving in the car, freaking out.
It's so weird. I actually had that tic a long time ago, and now I'm doing it again. I haven't had it in so long. Thank you so much
You're
for that.
welcome.
No, this is the Nickelback tic. You reminded me of it. No, it's not going anywhere. No, but it's a really good point to bring up, and yeah, because there's a lot of really terrifying tics that happen when we're in behind the wheel of a car. I don't drive for the reason that like my blinking tics get worse when I'm driving, so I literally close my eyes when I'm driving, and I can't open them. And I had moments where I had nights where I literally had to pull off to the side of the road and sit there for like 10 to 15 minutes because I literally could not open my eyes.
Wow.
And it's terrifying.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely. I would say that the most tick suppression I do is when I'm driving. So then when I get to a stoplight or a stop sign, I'll let it out. But it doesn't happen often because again, when I'm concentrated on driving, I'm usually somewhat okay, depending on, I don't know what my body's ever going to do, but there have been times where I have to tell like my husband or something like, you have to drive me because I just can't. Yeah, we had one time where a storm blew through and I'm not good with storms. I will admit I am 31 years old and I still hate storms when I'm by myself to this day.
No one in Ohio is good with storms.
I've gotten better and it's so weird. I got better because our dog Brooklyn is afraid of storms. So I never want her to pick up on my nervousness. And I swear it's like made me so much like braver with storms because I'm always like, Brooklyn, I'm like, if I'm not freaking out, we're fine. Like she can hear me, my full conversations with my dogs. Right. But a big storm blew through, like tornado sirens, like going off, like I'm home by myself. Scott, my husband's at work and I'm freaking out. And of course this was like, a few months after me moving out and moving in with Scott. So like, I don't even have like my parents right there. And I'm freaking out. The power went out. Like, I'm like, this is my worst nightmare. It's happening right now. This is my worst nightmare. And so afterwards I was just ticking like crazy because I was through this.
That kind of thing charges you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because if I go through this, like, and I don't want to be dramatic, say like traumatic event, but at the time for me it was very traumatic. But yeah, it'll get worse like later if I went through this, like, I don't know, some weird experiences where maybe in the moment it was like calmer, because sometimes it'll happen during, and then sometimes it's like my body like waits until after the moment, like, cause I'm so like in that moment, it'll happen afterwards. It's so weird, like how it like my brain just picks and chooses when we're gonna do it. Like when I go through like really, really sad things, I've noticed, like, so deaths in the family, stuff like that. When I'm in it, like it almost seems like my tics are by the wayside. And it's like, once I start to like get better, all those tics that didn't happen, like they start to happen, because most people would expect me to, they're like, well, I thought you'd be ticking like crazy. I'm like, sometimes I am. But a lot of times it's like that grief, like almost gives my body like a pause or something. It's very weird.
Do you ever find because and I don't know if I've talked about this in the podcast before, but have you ever found like there will be moments where like it's almost like you get an extended period of time not having a single tic, and like, have you ever had that where it terrifies you?
Yeah. It's almost, and that's the thing too, because like I'll joke around. I just said this the other day. I was at my grandma's house, and I always say like I would never wish for a life where I never had Tourette syndrome. Like it's made me who I am. Like I would be a completely different person if I didn't have it. And I always joke and say, I'm like, but if I woke up tomorrow and I never ticked again, that would be great. Yeah. But if I feel like I would be so on edge, like what's brewing, like what's happening right now.
Because it's always that anticipation, like that anxiety of just like, wait, it was here. What's going on? Where did it go?
Right. How much worse is it going to be later? Because I haven't done it this much today.
Right. But that's the weird thing though, is like because you don't think, because everyone always talks about like, oh, we need a cure for Tourette's. We need to get rid of this. But no one really thinks about that thought of like, if we actually just tomorrow stopped having Tourette syndrome, it would terrify us, and we wouldn't know how to, like, I mean, I feel like many people, yes, like for the first like day, they'd be so excited. They'd be like, oh, this is great. I can do all these things. I can go driving. I'm just going to drive across country. But then that second day hits and they're just like, wait, this isn't right. Yeah. I should be ticking.
I feel like it would almost give me, because I have it from time to time, and I don't know if you can, like, I'm sure you can probably relate, like that imposter syndrome. Yeah. Especially having a mild case. I'm like, who am I to be doing all of these things?
We're comedians. We definitely have imposter syndrome.
I feel like that's what happened. Like that would kick into high gear. I would almost feel like, well, I can't talk about this anymore because now I really don't know how anybody feels. I don't tick anymore. So it almost would be kind of like, what do I do now?
Well, you could make t-shirts, and that's our segue to the next topic. You have to admit that was a beautiful segue. But yeah, you did just start selling some t-shirts that you basically designed with the help of other people.
Yes.
And how did this come about? I love the shirts, by the way.
Thank you. So I've wanted, again, this is one of those things I've wanted to do for a long time, but I've been like too scared. I'm like, who's going to even really like want to buy a one ticket a time shirt if they don't really care about what I do that much? And I wanted to get it out there more. I'm like, well, why not? Like people buy merch and stuff for smaller things. I bought shirts from like restaurants that I like. Right. So I had a 5K 2 years ago where it was to benefit Tourette syndrome research. And I just started doing these awareness events. And a girl came to it who was friends with my cousin. She never met me before, and she came and she told me at the end of it, like, hey, if you need help with your shirts for next year's event, which I didn't end up doing because, global pandemic and all.
Right, the plague.
Yeah. But she's like, let me know. And so I really started thinking about it more because like this year I told myself, like, I want to start doing things like, even if maybe I'm scared or like I don't want to in that moment, I'm going to be really happy I did like the next day or even 5 minutes later. Like I'm tired of like just being, I don't know if it was just being stuck in a house for a year and being like, all right, I just lost a year of my life. And I'm like, I'm ready to take this into overdrive and not let all this fear stop me because look what came out of it for so many other things. Like I never would have expected my videos to reach, not that they're like, I have million subscribers or anything, not even close, but even just more people. Like I went out and saying like one person, if I can help one person, then I'm good. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
And so I remember talking to this girl, her name is Tara, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to message her and just see like if this would even be something she'd be into, like, and ask her if like she would be able to mock up some designs. And I even told her, I'm like, I'm not sure yet. Like, I'm just playing with this idea. I don't know if I'm going to do this for sure. And I just wanted to be honest with her in case she did this work and then be like, oh, well, you're not going to do it now. So,
right.
I ended up loving the designs, and she was like, I really love the fact that she went and watched my videos to really see like why this was important to me and what message I'm trying to portray. And that's where we came up with the not your excuse ones, because I'm sure, as you know, Tourette syndrome is used as people's excuse a lot when they say something stupid, or it's been used a lot in politics lately. And that drives me even more nuts because I hate politics altogether. But to hear somebody say like, oh, well, his Tourette's is acting up again. And that's not just a joke. That's just, for me, that's just it's pure ignorance. Like, and that's where it makes me mad. Like I can laugh off a joke. That's whatever. Like I can laugh at myself. I have to be able to laugh at myself. Otherwise it would have been a really long 20 plus years with this disorder. But that to me, I'm like, you're just perpetuating what we're trying to, like, it's like we take 10 steps back every time you do that. And it just drives me nuts. And so she watched that video, and that's where she came up with like the not your excuse. So we didn't even talk about that one. I told her, I was like, I want a one ticket at a time one, and then maybe like one or two designs just to start. I just want to see where it goes, if people even order them. And she came back with that not your excuse. She's like, yeah, I was watching your last video and it really just hit me. Like that was a powerful message. And right there, I'm like, well, then I need to do this. Like, I'm going to do it because she didn't have Tourette syndrome, but she connected with it, and that can get somebody talking. Yeah. Cause when they see the shirt, maybe. So
yeah. That's what we try to do with humor. We incorporate a lot of our disorders and syndromes and all of that stuff into our humor and our stand-up. And, because, I mean, I've said this so many times, but Mr. Rogers said if it's mentionable, it's manageable. Yeah. And if you can laugh about it, it's all the more easier. You know what I mean? Yeah. I forget where I was going with this, but I'll get back to it later.
Well, I was going to say though, the thing with like, I'm guessing Ted Cruz was one of the people you were thinking of when you mentioned politicians, because that was truly a special moment in history. Because I remember just thinking look, basically for anyone who doesn't know, Ted Cruz and Seth Rogen got in a very, very heated discussion. discussion is a bit of a light term. But no, they got pretty heated on Twitter, and it got to the point where Ted Cruz, without knowing that Seth Rogen has Tourette syndrome, so it's like basically described him as someone with Tourette syndrome screaming "F you," just all the time or something like that. And I remember just thinking, dude, screaming "F you" in any situation would be way more clever than that Tourette joke. And I'm just like, because the thing is, anytime someone makes a joke, I just want it to be clever. I just like if you're gonna use it in your humor, like that's fine. I make a living off of my squeaks and stuff like that. But it's like, if you're gonna tell a joke, at least be clever about it and don't just be lazy. Like I've had comedians that have traveled the world come to me like, hey, so you have Tourette syndrome. Can I tell you a Tourette joke? And I'm like, I'm going to stop you right there because I already know the joke. And then they were like, what are you talking about? Let me guess. It involves swearing. And they're just like, how'd you know? And I'm like, because every joke involves swearing.
Yes. Like come up with something different. Like I would say the same thing because I'm a very short person. I'm only 4'10". So I am not tall at all.
It's very short in meters.
Oh, sorry. I don't know the conversion.
Like I'm saying this to you and you're like the only person that actually would understand that.
Yeah, I got feet down. But I mean, to anyone who's using the metric system, it's about the height of a dog and a half.
yeah, probably.
And an avocado.
And an avocado, yeah.
Yeah. But people would like make these like short jokes. And I'm like, and I always tell them like, do you think I've never heard this before? Like, come on, like come up with something. And I really feel like that goes back to that whole, like, I'm taking it back from you. Like, no, you don't get to make fun of me. Like, this isn't, or like people come up and be like, you're so short. And like, I'll look at them like, I am.
Yeah, exactly.
This is new information to me. And then they like feel so dumb. I'm like, yeah, you should. Like, you don't think I know? You don't have to tell me that.
My nephew is a little older than me because I've got a weird Icelandic family. But he's very thin, right? And people would come up to him all the time going, you're so thin, man. Oh my God, how thin you are, and blah, blah, blah. And he just eventually started saying, yeah, chemo was a bitch.
Oh, gosh.
You know, so.
Well,
he took it back.
It teaches you not to make comments about other people's appearance.
He made a lady cry about it. You know. I'm so sorry, man. Yeah.
But with the t-shirts, where can people find the t-shirts?
So it's a one ticket a time shop. So you can find it on there. You can find it on all my links on like my social media and stuff. So it's the one ticket a time shop. You can find one ticket a time shirts that come. They both come in cotton and tri-blend, which a lot of people don't know, but the tri-blend is like a thinner material, which I like. I'm a very like warm by nature person, so I like the thinner material. And then we have the not your excuse.
Tribal what? Is that like a
tribal shirts?
Yes, it's a new design I'm going with.
Right.
No,
it's inspired by tribal tattoos, you know?
Shut up. Is it a synthetic fabric or is it?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Right.
I just know that it's softer and it's a lot lighter, where the cotton is like a little bit more thick, your average t-shirt material.
Yeah.
So,
which is much better for people with Tourette syndrome.
Yeah.
In general.
What, thinner fabric?
Yeah, thinner fabrics because they stretch a little bit more. So like Elva was talking in a recent episode about the fact that like a lot of Tourettic people have issues with the tags of their shirts.
Oh, that's very common with autistic people as well.
Yeah, sensory issues.
Even seams are often very bad.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm wearing a shirt that has the collar cut off because of sensory issues.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Tourette syndrome. With people with Tourette syndrome, we're constantly like, we have to like alter our clothing just so that it works with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a very common thing with autism as well.
It's not my clothes, but very recently, I don't know what's happening, but the sheets on our bed, like this, the stretchy sheet that goes over your bed, they're like getting loose in the middle of the night, and I can feel it on my body, and I can just feel the looseness of the sheet. And I have told my husband so many times recently, I'm like, I'm going to take these sheets off and I'm going to burn them all. because this is driving me nuts, and it doesn't bother him at all. And that's another weird thing where I never realized like that would be like sensory issues for me. I've always heard people talking about it, and I've always known that I have these things that drive me absolutely bonkers. But like this one's a new one for me, and it's not a new one. It's just that the sheet, I don't know, all of a sudden none of our sheets fit our bed, and it's the most annoying thing in the world to me.
By the way, I love that you said bonkers because that's one of my favorite words ever. But unfortunately, we are getting down to the end of the interview.
Yes.
Unfortunately, before we go, first of all, Britney, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed myself.
And where can people find out more information about you and everything that you do?
Okay, so they can find me at my Instagram. I'm most active, I would say, on Instagram. You're gonna find Tourette information, but also like that one's my one thing where it's everything. It's my personal. You're gonna see my dog and my husband, my family, and Tourette advocacy also sprinkled in. And that's just _ Britney Ingrid, or no, I'm sorry, Britney Wolf. I use Britney Ingrid a lot for other things. And then you can find me I have a Tourette Facebook page. So it's facebook.com/1tick@a-time. And then you can also find me, I guess now, on TikTok at 1tick@a-time as well.
Nice.
I have a Twitter too, but I forget I have it. I hate Twitter. I don't know how to use it.
I've been trying, but it seems to be so hard to get started. It's also tough to use because I don't just have like a bunch of like one-line sentences that I just post. I always post like an image or a video, and I'm like, Twitter's not for that.
Right. And I think that maybe that's why I also don't enjoy it as much either. But I mean, if you were to find it's the same thing, 1 tick at a time.
I get misunderstood. I get misunderstood because I have a bit of tone deafness because of my autism. I get misunderstood so many times that if I were to put it in words on Twitter, that'd be misconstrued and misunderstood, and I just can't do it.
But at least
I'm too afraid of it.
At least you wouldn't do the Captain Holt thing from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and be like, I set up a Twitter. My username is 815695384.
No.
Very good show. I love that show.
Oh,
best.
I saw that you talked to Craig, Tourette's cop, on Tourette Talk. And I asked him when we had him on this show if he had seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and he had never seen it. Oh. And I was like, okay, so that gets rid of all the questions I had about the realistic aspect of police in that show. But if to the listeners, do check out everything that Britney does because she's absolutely incredible. If you liked her in this interview, you will like her even more on all of her pages. And you can find out more about Stepner just by searching Stepner Benedictson. It looks like
simple enough, isn't it?
It looks like the start of Stephanie, but with an NIR. So Stepner.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I have really easy ways of learning Icelandic names. Like your name is basically like you're going onto a step, or like you're stepping onto something, and then it's near, but with a very, very like light E sound. So step name.
Yeah.
So you're step nearing someone. Yeah.
You just gotta always remember all of that.
Oh, exactly. And but you can find him at Stepner Benedictson. You are on Facebook at Stepner Comedy. That's your name for that. And you can find out more about me at Dan Zarin Comedy on all the socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. And now for the part that no one's been waiting for, the outro. So if you want to find out more information about the show, check out my Voices of Tourette's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have a website, mvhtshow.com.
Are we done?
We also have a discussion group on Facebook called MVHT Podcast Discussion Group, where you can talk all about the podcast. You can talk all about things that are happening in your life. You can just stop by to say hello. You can stop by to go,
Did you notice that
Britney
he became
Wolf was one of the
baseball announcers, right?
It's I feel like I'm getting closer and closer to a John Lovitz impression. Like I've been bringing this up lately. Yeah. But if you talk kind of like this, you kind of get that John Lovitz kind of, like back when he did, Brave Little Toaster and he was the radio sound,
That's the radio sound right there.
But if you want to talk about how amazing Britney was in this episode, check out our discussion group on Facebook. You can also find our new Patreon page. Just go to patreon.com/MVHT show and you will find us there. This episode has been brought to you by Gamesless Studio, where we are
Come on,
recording
you're gonna
the
plug
Secret
them
Cellar
again?
Iceland's
I mean,
first and only
geez.
comedy club, and Smouty's Volcano Sauce is the greatest hot sauces I've ever had in my entire life. If you're listening to this on Spotify, be sure to like and follow and do all those
just goes
fun things.
on and on.
If
It's
you
just
want to leave us a
rambling by
5-star
now.
review, please
like
leave
that
us a
guy,
5-star review. It's
like,
absolutely
on the
wonderful when you see that.
medicine- when you-
If
when
you
your
didn't like this
medicine
episode,
advertisement,
leave us a
Britney
1-star
costs
review and let us know what you didn't like about it. We will work on it. We will change it. If you didn't like Stepner, that's a shame because he's gonna be back. I'm gonna get him back. I may even get Britney back.
Come on, I'm a
we've got
fun
so
guy.
much we can talk about.
Yes.
But, we may even get her dogs on here. I honestly,
There you
I
go.
think if we're going for marketing and we get 2 dogs, Izzy and Brooklyn, to be on this show as guests, no one will care what they say. They'll just
No.
bark the whole time, or they won't even say anything. But people will be like, "They did a podcast with a dog." I am listening to that shit. I think that's the first swear word we said in this entire fucking episode. But anyway, right? See, no one listens to this. I could say whatever I want. You know what I could say? I could say, if you are interested in volcanoes, check out the internet and find out all about the volcano that just erupted in Iceland. No one got hurt, but it still erupted, and it was fun. And we got hail today because of it. I think. I don't know.
We got hail because of the volcano?
I don't know. I just blame it. Honestly, I'm still just salty because I'm just really certain that Iceland is just mocking my Tourette's by shaking so much, and I think that's
We've
so
had
rude.
earthquakes
I
for
think
like 3 months.
Jeez.
Yeah.
like 3 days of solid earthquakes every like 5 to 20 minutes, and I'm just
That's
like,
crazy.
look, we get it. You're pissed, or you wish that I would stop moving, but you don't have to make
Right.
fun of me every 5 to 20 minutes.
Right.
All right, you
Yeah,
know,
we had a couple of 5s.
we had a couple 5s. It was
That's
insane.
nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
it-
scary.
Yeah, it was
Or regular when you live in Iceland.
it was crazy. It was crazier than trying to be from either Michigan or Ohio and driving to the other state without getting pulled over by a police officer for speeding when you're not speeding. That has happened to me 3 times. But
Oh, jeez.
I know. But anyway, we have gotten to the end here. So thank you all so much for listening, and check out new episodes every Tuesday.